4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome everybody to the standing committees. And today we're going to start off with Protective Social Services Committee meeting. In that we have myself, Councillor Friesen, Councillor Minhas, and Mayor Clayton will not be joining the meeting until after the before the second report. And so we'll start off. We have one delegation, item 2.1, the Atkinson Construction Company. If you would like to present, now is the time.
Hey, good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to your committee today. I'd like to introduce our company, Atkinson Construction. We're a general contracting and construction management firm specializing in design build based in St. Albert. My name is Jaden Armstrong, and I'm the business development manager for Atkinson Construction and a former resident of Grande Prairie. Present with me on this call is Burke Atkinson, president and project director of our company. Last January, we were awarded the contract for the design build of the Activity and Reception Center on Park Road in Grande Prairie. Currently, the project is on track to hit milestones set by the city to attain the ISIP grant funding issued by the federal government. In most cases of our out-of-town projects, we try to procure locally as much as we can. In this case, all trades and civil engineering were delivered from Grande Prairie businesses. In each community that we build, we try to find opportunities and challenges to In each community that we build, we try to find opportunities and challenges to which we can match our capabilities and advantages, and then for which we can provide solutions. The understanding we gained of the growing gaps in the housing continuum and the increasing difficulty for those less fortunate attaining market housing prompted us to reach out within our network of consultants, suppliers, and subcontractors to try to find a cost-effective solution for supportive and transitional housing. Working closely with Doug Solos Architects, who is on our team for the Activity and Reception Center and has 2 active projects of this type underway with BC Housing, we developed the design you'll see shortly from Burke. Understanding the demand for quick deployment within community, we have worked out a schedule for construction that would require no more than 11 to 13 months to execute. Using the coordinated care campus as a goalpost for budgetary at $15.5 million as per the business plan, we hope to demonstrate that with some collaboration from stakeholders, that a new purpose-built facility on city-owned land is feasible not far beyond what the acquisition and conversion would cost. The design shows a steel structure with concrete slab, which allows for future adaptability and reconfiguration of the layouts over an estimated lifespan of over 80 years. This concept is being presented as an alternative or additional to the supportive housing campus that is in planning stages. It can be easily integrated onto most land parcels with a building footprint of 66 by 218 feet, and for conceptual purposes, was designed using a 2-acre lot, allowing room for parking and landscaping. However, if it can be used as an alternative, we felt it was timely to present, given the current discussions around the coordinated care campus. The concept is designed to incorporate 104 suites, and we actually also lined up a group who's willing to donate beds along with microwaves, coffee machines, TVs for all the suites. This group is asked to remain unnamed at this time. So at this point, I'll turn it over to Burke now, who will present and explain the design in greater detail and answer any questions you might have.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Burke Atkinson. I'm president and director here at Atkinson Construction. Through the news and media recently, it came to our attention the demand for a quick deployment solution for Grande Prairie to address the homeless and facility programming. This prompted a conversation about the topic of acquisition renovation costs for a proposed new facility. We're proud to currently be working with the City of Grande Prairie on the Activity Center, as previously mentioned, with Doug Solos Architects, who'll be working with us on this project to assist our team to refine the concept, and provide artistic renderings and plans of this proposed facility. Using these, we have priced out a project and tendered with various subcontractors that we normally work with to provide accurate budgetary figures to help mitigate risks, and also $150,000 contingency is included within this package. Within our price, we've included a 5-story facility that has a building footprint of 66 by 218 feet. Each area would consist of 2 windows, and as seen in the artistic rendering in this presentation, we've allowed for an aesthetically appealing building which can be adjusted and tweaked to your team's liking. Within our package, we've included new services, water, storm, sewer, gas, TELUS, pavement, concrete work, site works, and landscaping design for cost and developing of a green space. On the main floor, we've designed this facility to include a front entry lobby, access into the building, a 2 elevators to access the facility, as well as future developed space for future programming, future commercial kitchen, and whatever else is deemed necessary. On floors 2 to 5, we've included within this facility the total of 104 units and beds, which total a building total square footage of 72,000 square feet. Of that, the 58,000 square feet of living space on floors 2 to 5, with some adjustments, could easily add more units, as our current proposed unit sizing is approximately 440 square feet. Each unit consists of shower, tub, washroom space to allow for handicap access, and space for possible washer and dryers. Within this as well, we've included a kitchenette design. For interior finishes within the spaces, we've included LVP glue down flooring, the high wear layer for durability. Wall systems are built out of steel studs with high impact drywall to the bottom 4 feet. Ceilings would be of a drywall finish, with the main floor lobby area being T-bar ceilings. We've chosen this approach to help prevent any potential storage or access further within the facility. Mechanically, we've gone to a consulting group that we've worked with to help design the system to be of high efficiency and low operational costs. The sanitary system would consist of an 8-inch diameter main, 6-inch water system designed to take not only the facility, but also the requirements of a sprinkler system. We've included natural gas, storm sewer, a heating system that would consist of 2 high-efficient natural gas-fired boilers with hot water piping systems and Schedule 40 piping. The hot water systems and thermostats would be of hydronic systems, which would allow for heating and cooling and control within each of the spaces. All systems would be insulated to increase durability and efficiency throughout the facility. The ceilings would have fan coils. We would have hydronic unit heaters within spaces, and air handling units would be used for the hallways to pressurize the suites, as well as provide energy recovery. Each suite would have an exhaust system as required by NECD 2017, would have supply air systems and air conditioning as mentioned. Control systems within the building would be centrally controlled within the mechanical room, as well as the fire protection system and smoke removal system within the duct. Electrically, throughout our facility. We have proposed LED lighting, data cabling in each room, with halls having point of access internet service to provide service for each suite. We have zoned the fire alarm system tied back into the sprinkler system as well, and would allow for power, data, and connection throughout the suites. We've accounted for a rough-in of security systems in corridors and on hallways to assist your team in monitoring the facility. Some of the benefits that we believe that we're able to provide within this package is of a concrete and steel construction, which greatly reduces the risk of any property loss, property damage, and also gives the ability to strip the main up to 5 floors of the facility to be able to reuse the building for future purposes as deemed necessary. The ability or the benefits to having a new facility also include time to build up capital reserve costs for ongoing maintenance and repair costs, and the facility is also purpose-built. New facilities come with warranties on equipment, have a full 100-year lifespan, and can be designed and built to meet the NECD 2017. Is there any questions?
Yeah, I'm going to ask you one. I didn't hear the final price per door. Could you tell me what that would be? And would it be designed for a medical facility such? I know we have to have a certain criteria that we need to meet, and I was wondering if it would meet that.
So the price per door, it works out to $115,000 per door based on the 104 units, 104 beds. We'd be able to adjust our floor plan, to get up to 120 units, I think, like your current proposal is looking at. In that, the total price for this build would be $15.7 million. As mentioned by Jaden, that did include fitting up of the suites as well. Okay. Within that, we've captured the landscaping design and a few other components I don't think previously addressed. And the main floor is designed to support the other facilities as necessary as well.
And that doesn't include land?
That does not include the land.
Okay, thank you. So I'm just going to ask Eunice Friesen, if you'd like to speak.
Thank you, Chair O'Toole. Thank you for bringing this forward. I do have a few questions. The entire footprint. So you said that on the main floor there's room for future development and commercial space, or future development and commercial kitchen. What's the footprint, please? I missed that at the beginning. I know it was stated.
The building footprint is 66 by 218.
Okay. And so those are, thank you, that is the slide, yeah. Those are the, are undeveloped is in this proposal, is that those will be left completely undeveloped?
They would be left for determining what the facility would require from your guys' end, yes. Okay.
And
it would be mechanically and electrically serviced as well.
Of course, yeah. So sort of cable ready, because I'm 1,000 years old. My next question is regarding the comparator. So I understand that this came to your attention, I suppose, because of the proposal before us that we'll be deciding on as time progresses here, and that you compared it to what is available there. What other comparatives did you use to come up with this design? Did you have a look at any of the 6 or 8 or 10 similar units that have been built in Alberta over the last 5 years? So which ones? Go ahead, thank you.
How we'd address that, we'd talk to DSA the architectural group on our end who's worked with BC Housing on several projects right now. And, you know, the names actually elude me at this point, but we were working with another group in the city of Edmonton here on a facility and looked at the model for converting a hotel. And, you know, funding didn't go through with that package, but it's where we did realize some of the struggles, I guess, and challenges that come with converting a hotel and meeting the energy requirements for the makeup air systems and such.
So you mentioned the energy requirements and that sort of thing. Did you look closely? Are those do those challenges, did they make it cost prohibitive to convert a hotel as compared to a new build? Or are they doable?
I mean, anything is doable, I guess. In this instance that we looked at, it did open up a lot of issues with trying just to get fresh air ventilation and tie the heat recovery systems back into the existing exhaust and ventilation from the units. Most hotels are, you know, designed with a single draw from, you know, you've got the grill in the washrooms that just constantly draw air. With the new NECB, you need to recover some heat loss from that system instead of just drawing it out and ventilating it. And then with the pressurizing of the hallways, you need to bring in a duct system into those areas, which in a lot of cases, hotels just had undercut doors, which would draw air from within the hallway.
Okay. And what size of lot would you recommend a building such as this be put onto? And have you identified any in the city of Grande Prairie?
We did look at a couple of lots within the city. Jaden can speak to those a little bit, but our facility is about a two acre size, which is nice.
Yeah, so sorry to interrupt there. Yeah, so we did look at some lots over by the Rotary Center. There's a 2 acre parcel just adjacent to it, but it was confirmed by Director Chris Manuel that at this time there's too much community servicing within that area. However, this design is quite adaptable, as mentioned, with the footprint of the building, and could fit quite easily on a 2 acre lot.
So that was the only identified site? Is that what I'm hearing? So
that's correct.
Okay. And I may have follow up. This is a very intriguing proposal. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I've got Councillor Yad Minhas, then I've got Councillor Wade Palat, and then I've got Councillor Dylan Bressie in the queue. You got to hit the little button on the side. Oh, there you go.
Thank you, Karen. Tool. My question is, you said it's 104 room, is 440 square feet room, and they are all kitchenette, and they'll be all single bed, or they're going to be some 2-bedroom for the family too?
Currently, they're all single or double beds, but and with a kitchenette. And that was something we would look to work through as we better understood your guys' program needs to increase some room sizes to be able to accommodate some accessibility folks as well as, you know, families and such.
So there'll be proper kitchen. It's not like going to be hot plate or something, small kitchen will be.
There is space to be able to put in a stove. It would just depend on whether your group wanted to include that within the package or not. So we've seen in discussions with another group, they looked at the hot plate component and then they also looked at the stove, and they weren't sure how they wanted to address the final function. So it could be so many units designed and for one style and the other a different layout as well.
So the laundry would be in the main floor, or it'll be somewhere in the center or someplace? Laundry facility?
We've got it designed that within each unit, there is room, kind of very similar to a lot of condo spaces. Inside the closet, there's room for stackable washer and dryer. And then in the event that was not desired, it could be main floor laundry services as well.
So it'll be kind of stacked laundry up and down, wash and dry, right?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I have Councillor Palat.
Thanks, Chair O'Toole. Just a question, guys, on the project itself, and thanks for coming in and chatting with you guys here last week about this a little bit as well. Just wondering, how scalable is this project? Like you're saying, $115,000 a key. If we went with a smaller project, like more 75, 80 doors, what would that do to the pricing?
I mean, with pricing, there's some economies of scale. It would, if the footprint was shrunk down, it could definitely decrease. If we were to go down to about 75 units, lose a floor, there'd probably be 70 or 80% of that cost would be in savings. So you'd probably be looking at knocking, say, somewhere around 100,000 off each price or per unit. So.
Okay. So a scalability isn't going to make it go from 115 a key to 130 a key or in that extreme?
No, it wouldn't be to that extreme. No.
Okay, and just if I'm hearing you correctly, that sounds like so. If I'm comparing the two kind of buildings, this one's a non-combustible. Was it sprinklered?
Yes. Yeah.
Sprinklered. You said all LED lighting, HVAC. So, would you guys have any sense of idea of what this would cost operationally for utilities versus what we're proposing? Is that something you guys would be able to tell off your modeling, or is that something we'd have to look into further?
We'd need to look into that further to see. I couldn't tell you that offhand.
Okay, that's all I have for now. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Wade. And Councillor Bressie, go ahead.
Great, thank you. I'm just wondering, you talked well, a couple questions. One is, in terms of the needs of this facility, I know hope is that supportive housing doesn't fall under the Residential Tenancy Act, that it falls under other legislation, which means that there are increased legislative requirements for building standards and what goes into a suite. Was that investigated in your modeling of this? And were those increased costs that come with a medical-based facility, are we looking at those medical-based costs, or are we looking at the strict costs that would be for a regular housing unit that falls under the Residential Tenancy Act?
We looked at this just as if the facilities would be able to meet requirements, I guess, known at this stage. So the handicap accessibility side of things, the life safety end, as well as leaving a little bit of versatility in the main floor for meeting any medical requirements that could change. With the units as well, we've got tub shower combinations. We'd look to address some of those in accessible units as well, just as need be.
So, but there was no due diligence done to see if this would fit under the requirements of the Alberta Supportive Living Licensing Act or any of that type of legislation?
I'd have to reach out to the consulting team to see what their familiarity with that package is.
Great, thank you. And then another question I had was in terms of the outdoor space. So you talked about how there was how the outdoor, the landscape was included in this. Is that just parking and landscaping requirements we'd see in any commercial building, or is there any outdoor common space included in this so that residents could actually have an outdoor space to hang out in, have a smoke, or alternatively, an outdoor space away from those people having smokes? Just what kind of outdoor space is available and the pricing that you did?
Mr. Atkinson, are you froze? Dylan does that to you every now and again. Okay. Give them a minute to see if they can get back up. If not, we'll carry on. Okay. I think what we'll do is we'll move on. And with that, oh, got somebody beeping in here. They're gone? Okay, go ahead. Mr. Armstrong or Mr. Atkinson, if you want to continue on.
Our apologies, our internet cut out on this end here. Got parked here. Sorry about that.
No problem. We're used to it. We've been doing this for 15 months.
Sorry about that. So we cut out just after the last question there. So yeah, or we were just working into the landscaping question. Sorry.
Right. So did you include any fencing, exterior fencing or interior fencing on the property is the question.
Yes, there was exterior fencing around what would be assumed the 2-acre space. And then within that budget, we had allowed for $85,000 in kind of green space setup. So that'd be treat areas, grass sides. That would be excluding, we have different line items for pavement, for site concrete as well. So the $85,000 was just to get into the green space and setting up some outdoor spaces for groups to congregate. So.
Mr. Bressie, you have anything else to add?
Yeah, and just another question about that. So 85,000 for that green space setup, and on a 2-ish acre lot, did you do any math in terms of how many square feet there'd be of green space, and not green space like border around it, but actual group congregation hangout green space? So I'm trying to figure out if you have an idea of how much square feet that would be.
With that, I mean, 2 acres were what, 86,000 square feet. Building footprint is 15,000, so we're looking at about 60,000 square feet. With setbacks and stuff, we're going to lose about 7,000 or 8,000 square feet. It would have left about 12 to 13,000 square feet of green space to be set up for congregating. So.
Okay, I think we're all done. Was there anybody else from council that wanted to ask questions? I got one more question from Mr. Minhas.
How many parking slots will be in that area, in the 2-acre lot?
We've looked at 60 spots at this juncture, so.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Again, it'll depend largely on the lot layout, so we'd carried costing for that and would have to tailor to the site location. So.
Excellent. Well, thank you for joining us today. We got one more question. Councillor Friesen.
Thank you, Chair O'Toole. So we have the per door valuations of the facilities that have been built. So this is back to my question about, did you compare your numbers to, or your design, your amenities to what has been built in Alberta over the past handful of years? And the per door end expense of those have ranged anywhere from 163,725 in Calgary. Granted, that was a seniors facility, but medical grade, to Lethbridge at 278,380. So there's a huge gap between what you're suggesting this could be done for, and what it actually has been done for. What do you think was in those facilities that are not necessary, or what do you think may be missing in your bid today? And I ask this question because I'm concerned that if we were to go to tender on this, we certainly may get a bid from you. I imagine that we would, but there would be others as well. And what would you predict the difference would be in your 129,000 per door to the next lowest, which was pre-COVID and therefore pre-building expense increase of 163. What gaps do you see there that we should be mindful of, please?
Within their numbers, they're probably carrying the other amenities within the space to kind of line up to compare to, I think, some other proposals your group has seen. We broke out the floors for the future development space is not included within that per door price. So that's where some of their programming would have probably been tied within those numbers as well. So that's probably a component of it, as well as the land component is likely within those numbers as well. So.
Okay, so you're suggesting just that this is just the bare minimum. Was this furnished? I know that you said there was a group interested in donating some appliances, that sort of thing. What about furniture for the rooms?
Within that, there was beds and TVs. So
beds and TVs. Okay,
okay.
But to get to the place where we would need to use it, there would also be. You're acknowledging that there would need to be the future development of that main floor as well?
Yes.
That's a huge difference, yeah? Okay. All right, thank you.
All right, one last final round. Any questions? I see none. So thank you very much for your presentation. And what we'd like you to do is just turn your cameras off and sit back, or you can leave the meeting and we'll deal with that at the end of the day.
Great. Sounds good. Appreciate your time.
We'll move on to the report, 3.1, Coordinated Care Campus. And Director Baniel, I think that's you.
I'm actually going to pass it off to the Senior Executive Advisor, Ms. Hughes.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Welcome, Ms. Hughes.
Thank you, through the chair. Briefing updates for the Coordinated Care Campus are as follows. Administration has been primarily working on landscaping and green space plans and are actively engaging city departments within the city for their input and expertise. Administration has also been focusing on efforts on client care and transitioning plans, and continue to engage various community groups and support groups to work on those elements. And with that, we're open to questions. Thank you.
Was there any questions? Mr. Bressie.
Great, thank you. Does administration have an estimated timeline yet on when council might be presented with that landscaping plan so it can continue considering the development permit?
It will be brought forward on July 12th regular council meeting.
Councillor Palat.
Thanks, Chair O'Toole. Just, maybe I was the only councillor that saw it, even though I'm not on social media, but just wondering if administration's had a chance to reach out to the group that's doing the Royal Oaks Northridge petition. There's quite a number of people on it. Just wondering if we've had any communication with that group.
Mr. Manuel.
Certainly, I can speak to that. It's the I've met with the group that started that petition, which was Mr. Coward and his team. So yeah, we've had dialogue pertaining to that.
And do we have any ideas of what that group's numbers are currently at for petition numbers?
Certainly, I don't. Our discussion wasn't around who had signed the petition. It was around the content of the petition itself, which the petition actually went out, in my opinion, at a time ahead of the public engagement sessions, where a number of the points raised within that petition letter that started the movement were corrected in regard to their inaccuracy of various points.
And just a couple more questions. Just going back to the Stonebridge project, a couple things with the new versus the used build. I'm hearing a few people worried about the new build being good enough. I'm just curious about the used building. Does it have sprinklers in it? Are they non-combustible units in the Stonebridge building?
I can provide some detail on that. So there is not presently sprinklers, but sprinklers are accounted for within the renovation budget. Additionally, the building itself is a steel and concrete tray floor. So it has some of those non-combustible components. And certainly our fire prevention branch of the fire department has provided feedback, and administration is confident about the building's life safety requirements.
Okay, and just this proposed building that we just heard about was 440 square feet, it looked like, per unit. What sort, can you just refresh me what size the units are in the Stonebridge on average?
Certainly I can. I believe they're approximately 300 some odd square feet. I'll have the specific numbers available at a future meeting, but they're within that space. One thing I did see on the design of this was the ensuite laundry, which is something that we would not be encouraging.
Okay, so in essence, their cost would probably be lower to build the purpose-built building if they didn't have ensuite laundry in each room. And just one other question on the Stonebridge. When we get back the landscaping plan, have we determined kind of how many parking stalls we're looking at? This proponent kind of said 60, and just kind of wondering what we're looking at for parking stalls.
So one of the things that a comment that was made at the last council meeting pertaining to parking was a question around why I believed we needed so much parking. Well, it's important to remember that with the Stonebridge, we're talking about a significant allocation of staff, not directly supporting the project as far as caseworkers and client care, but also the enforcement services staff, the community social development staff, their associated fleet of vehicles such as patrol cars. So that's where, when I mentioned that our peak volume could be up to 120 vehicles, that's where that number's coming from.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I guess I'd be curious when the landscape plan comes forward to see the allocation of stalls, but that's something we could debate when it comes forward. And just one last question. I've had conversations with several proponents. Numbers are very consistent. I would say they're within 10% with 3 different groups. I'm just wondering if administration's had a chance to reach out, or if you've had more groups reach out to talk to you about Grande Prairie purpose-built buildings instead of using numbers from other jurisdictions that we were using in the reports.
So what we have done is obtain sources, and I'll bring these forward at a future council date, likely July 12th, where Grande Prairie construction values are benchmarked against other municipalities, such as Edmonton, Calgary, and Lethbridge, and they are consistently, from the information I've seen so far, and nobody has presented me anything other than that show that Grande Prairie construction values, on average, are higher than those other municipalities.
Okay. Yeah, and I guess I'm hoping more to understand, I guess, just if these guys are looking at 115 a key. I've talked to 2 other engineering firms that were between 100 and 120 a key. just why there's such a discrepancy, I guess, on what was in our report versus what we're hearing locally from credible engineering firms and a company that we're actually dealing with now. Why there's such a this disparity is a lot. I mean, these numbers of what we were first told was it was going to be double the price to go new. Now we're finding out we might be able to build new for similar per cost per key. Just wondering how that disparity was missed.
Go ahead, Emmanuel.
So I'll commit to providing more transparency around those analysis. I will always, from my perspective, benchmark what has been built comparatively to what we're proposing versus speculative pricing around things that may not include the apples to apples sort of comparison that we're talking about. As was mentioned, I think building housing to a certain standard, such as the building code standards and energy efficiency accessibility, can likely be done in a very broad range of pricing. When factors such as support and living standards required by the province are included, I think those may be some of the factors. And I'll be the first to admit, I'm not an engineer, I'm not a builder, but I do know that many of these organizations outside of Grande Prairie that have built these similar projects are trying to find the most cost-effective way to build them and leverage the limited available funding they have. And from what we've seen from their actual builds, it just has not come as cheap as what we're hearing could be done. Now, I'm certainly not discounting the proposal that we just heard. I'm actually keen on working with that group to refine it and to see, hey, if we can be a community that can demonstrate that we can do these 30, 40, 50% cheaper than other communities, I think we would be the gold standard on moving these initiatives forward in the future. Very similar to kind of what we're proposing, even with the Stonebridge and the conversion, is we're being looked at externally outside the city keenly to see if we can in fact do it as cheap as we can.
Okay. And just one last one, just when the report comes to the development permit next week, one of the things in their business case, and maybe it'll be when the business case comes, is the $3 million allocation for renovations. Will there be more detailed breakdown of where that $3 million goes as far as how much is going to be sprinklers, HVAC improvements, landscaping, facade? Like, will it break it down a little bit more detailed than what's in our packages currently?
It will, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I have Councillor Minhas.
Thank you, Chris, is what size the rooms are, and it'll be kitchenette and also the laundry, how that's going to be treated in that area?
Within the Stonebridge? Okay, so within the Stonebridge, we've accounted for a certain number of units to have kitchenettes and for a number of units not to. Now, when we talk about the medical model component, which is really the focus of one of the floors primarily, that is a high level of care required. People that would frankly have difficult times cooking and preparing their own food. So that's why we are leveraging the commercial kitchen opportunities as well as dining room space for that. Additionally, in regard to laundry facilities, we have both the commercial laundry facilities to accommodate a laundry service for sheets and so on like that at like a medical facility on site, but we also have resident available laundry as part of the purchase.
Thank you.
Is there any other questions? Okay. Thank you very much for the report on the Coordinated Care Campus. We will move on to the Director's Service Area Report.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. So from Community Social Development, the Youth Advisory Council is reported to have participated in the Picnic in the Park event on Canada Day in conjunction with the city's Sport Development, Wellness and Culture Department. And good news in that the first city department that's going to undertake our internal unconscious bias training from our Equity, Diversity and Inclusion Committee is going to be the city's transit department. and we look forward to delivering that training with them. Within the fire department, a note here from the chief saying that crews are on high alert due to the high weather in anticipation of grass and or outdoor fires. And the addition of having to wear the extensive amount of personal protective equipment during hot operations is at times stressing crews a little bit, because you have to do a lot more relief shifts than you otherwise would due to the heat stress. And a reminder that we do have very, very high risk of outdoor fires, particularly forest fires, due to the extreme dry conditions. So please be diligent. And within the mobile outreach team, they report that their community engagement patrols with the RCMP are going well, and that from those patrols in the last 2 weeks, they identified 8 new encampments, which they were able to remove, and followed up on 10 previous encampments to ensure that they remain unoccupied. Additionally, they reported the collection of a number of needles reported to them. And that's it for a fairly quiet report.
Thank you very much. I did see a couple of police officers walking the beat yesterday afternoon. They were paired up, and it looked nice to see them on the street. They looked a little hot, but other than that, they're good. We had no items of correspondence. Did anybody have any questions to Mr. Manuel? Sorry, I kind of jumped ahead there. Go ahead, Mr. Bressie.
Great, thank you. Just talking about our street engaged population, I noticed our partner or agencies doing a lot to keep people cool, but did we hear any positive or negative feedback about how our people living without homes weathered the heat? Did we hear about any medical complications or any, is there anything we should be aware of in terms of how our vulnerable population responds to the heat?
I think what council should be aware of in regard to that is how, I believe from my perspective, the community stepped up to help those in greatest need. And some examples of that are, I'll give a shout out to the Circle K group of operators in the city of Grande Prairie. I know their stores collectively rounded up a lot of water that they delivered to our shelters. In addition, the city had also procured several pallets of water, which we deployed through shelters in our mobile outreach teams as well. And just anecdotally speaking, I saw my own observations where I saw a turbo delivery vehicle pull over and in service a person give them water, and I saw other residents as well where there was a dog with a street engaged individual, and they stopped and they offered food and water for the animal too. So I think the community recognized that there was some. It was probably uncomfortable for many of us, but there was those that faced greater risk, and I think the community as a whole did a great job stepping up. As far as negative consequences related to that, I know I heard out of BC there was several unfortunate incidents where people had negative health implications. Locally here, I haven't heard that same piece, and I think it goes well to speaking to how the introduction of our street outreach center this past, just over a year ago now, as well as the continued operations at Rotary and in some of the other buildings, go to show that we do have a safety net to catch those that are most vulnerable from those life safety incidents.
Great, thank you. I appreciate that update. And something I realized when we talked about the daytime shelter was I was really concerned about winter, and I realized it was kind of a blind spot for me thinking about summer when we were talking about that shelter. Is that building air conditioned?
It is.
Great, thank you.
Right. We're at other business, and we had a delegation 2.1 come, and I'd ask if the mayor could step out of the room while we discuss this, please. And Councillor Friesen, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair O'Toole. So I would move to accept the delegation's presentation for information And in speaking to it, as I mentioned during questions, I think this is certainly intriguing. I was supportive of the idea back in the fall, and while I'm not convinced that it is necessarily a better solution than what we have before us to consider, I would love to keep that in mind for also future supports that we may still need to provide. Neither the Stonebridge that we're considering, nor what was summarily proposed today, are enough to really execute our homeless strategy. But they may be two projects that work in concert to help us really make a dent in our street residents.
Okay. Thank you very much. There was a motion on the floor to accept for information. Just waiting for the e-scribe to kick in here. Thinking things are going to happen here soon. Feeling really comfortable to be back in council chambers, but there's a lot of things that I forgot. Okay, go ahead and vote.
Councillor Minhas, how do you vote?
You said in favor.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, that passes unanimously. All right, so we had no other business. We have no bylaw and policy review to look at today, but we do have item 7, the outstanding items list. And with that, I'm looking at Director Baniel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So item 1149, the automated traffic enforcement update, is on track to be here August 3rd.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Looking for business. Mr. Minhas.
Received the update for the outstanding item.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Go ahead and we can call the vote. And that passes unanimously at the time. All right, we're going to call for adjournment. This meeting is now over, and we will have a 5-minute break, and we'll return to, it will be community